What's up, Husky Pups? Today I am going to read The Last Ecosystem. I'm all bundled up for this read aloud today. Can you guess which ecosystem? I have some gloves here, and I have some snowshoes. Mrs. Jones will be so excited to see that I still have these. So those are the clues about today's ecosystem. So if you guessed the Arctic tundra, you are correct. And that is where we are going to finish off today. Today's ecosystem is the Arctic tundra. I'm going to review our ELA standards for the week. RI 3.2, I can identify the main idea. Today's main idea will be the Arctic tundra. The supporting details, which are the facts or examples that tell us more about the main idea. What facts are we going to learn today, Husky Pups, about the Arctic tundra? Our second ELA standard is RI 3.4. I can determine the meaning of unknown words in a third grade text. Yesterday and the day before, two vocabulary words were survive and energy. Will we see those vocabulary words today? Our last ELA standard for the week is RI 3.7. I can use information from the illustrations and the words to demonstrate an understanding of the text. One of the reasons I picked this book from Epic is because it has great illustrations. So today I'm going to read Welcome to the Arctic. Welcome to the Arctic. The Arctic is one of the coldest places on Earth. It is made up of a large ocean surrounded by flat, treeless land called tundra. The icy habitat is home to polar bears, whales, birds, insects, and plants. The Arctic Ocean is so cold that part of its surface is always frozen. So that's why I was all bundled up today, third grade, because it is one of the coldest places on Earth. Sometimes in winter, this vast floating island of thick ice spreads and joins up with the land. Let's find out what happens in this habitat. Life in the freezing ocean. The Arctic Ocean may be icy, but it's filled with life. Seals dive below the floating ice to hunt. They use their flippers to twist and turn as they chase squid and fish. Walruses use their sensitive whiskers to feel for clams, mussels, and other prey on the ocean floor. So if you look closely, we see prey as a vocabulary word. And I just want to take notice to these great illustrations with all of these captions and labels. Frozen winter. The Arctic winter starts in November. Polar bears hunt for seals on the frozen ocean. When a polar bear finds a seal's breathing hole, it waits very still by the hole. When the seal comes up for air, the polar bear grabs it. A hungry Arctic fox follows its big, fierce neighbor. Once the bear has finished feeding, the little fox will eat the leftovers. This is my favorite picture because look, you can barely see the Arctic fox because he blends in so nicely with the snow, but look at how cool the polar bear is with a fox behind him. A den in the snow. In autumn, a pregnant female polar bear digs a den in the snow. Then she climbs inside and goes to sleep. Snow covers the entrance to the den. The polar bear is safe and warm inside. During the winter, the bear gives birth to tiny twin cubs. So look at that little polar bear poking right out. I love that. The baby bear drinks milk from their mother's body. So here we have the mama with her baby. The big melt. When spring comes, the warm sun starts to melt the snow and ice. The water makes small ponds, lakes, and soggy marshes on the tundra. Small, low-growing plants such as moss, grasses, heather, and Arctic willow grow. The plant's leaves, flowers, fruits, and seeds are food for Arctic animals. Lots of little seeds. Food for all of these creatures that live in the Arctic ecosystem. Small wonders. In early spring, a woolly bear caterpillar wakes up from hibernation. The caterpillar does this for up to 14 years until it is ready to change into a moth. Once it's a moth, the insect only lives for a few days, just long enough to mate and lay eggs. The caterpillar feeds on the new leaves of Arctic willow plants. It eats for about 3 weeks, then it goes back into hibernation for another year. So how cool to see a woolly bear caterpillar. Just like yesterday, we talked about the frog life cycle that lived in the pond. The polar bear also that lives there has a friend called the woolly bear caterpillar, and he also lives in the Arctic. And another example of a great life cycle, just like Mrs. Morgan is doing all her life cycles with you. Babies on the tundra. An Arctic fox is hunting for birds, lemmings, and other small animals on the tundra. She brings this food to her pup. I love this over here, this caption, because it gives you a very detailed description of what's in the illustrations, and it has some vocabulary words, camouflage and predators, and those are in bold. So I really love that picture. The Arctic fox pups fight to learn how to hunt and protect themselves. In spring, a pair of snowy owls digs a shallow nest on the tundra. So right there's the snowy owl, which is very familiar because it's from Harry Potter. Babies on the ice. The polar bear cubs are now old enough to leave their den. The polar bear is hungry because she hasn't eaten for many months. The family must make a long walk to the sea to find seals to eat. The mother bear must keep watch for male polar bears or wolves that might attack and eat her cubs. Harp seals give birth to their babies on the sea ice. The seal pups have white coats to help them stay hidden from hungry polar bears. So 3rd grade, this page, the main idea, babies on the ice, the specific details are what polar bear cubs do and harp seals do. Fish feast. The Arctic coastline is a good place for seabirds to raise their chicks. The ocean is teeming with fish, so there's plenty of food to feed the baby birds. Kittiwakes build their nest from plants and seaweed stuck together with mud. A male puffin uses his beak and feast to dig a burrow in the ground. His partner lays a single egg inside. Puffins dive into the ocean to catch small fish called sand eels to feed to their chicks. So I like this page because the Arctic ecosystem has many different types of birds. And here's some new ones that we're learning about today. Whale watch. Oh, I love whales. Huge humpback whales glide through the Arctic Ocean. To catch food, a humpback whale dives down into the water. As it swims back up to the surface, it opens its mouth wide. It takes in a mouthful of water and food. Then the whale closes its mouth and squeezes the water out through its baleen plates. The humpback now has a mouthful of tasty food. This is another great illustration, Husky Pups. Look at all of the details there. It really helps you understand. On the hunt. Families of orcas, or killer whales, live and hunt in the Arctic Ocean. Orcas have a clever way of catching seals called seal washing. So if we look very carefully, I want to take note to this picture. I love this picture. Do you notice how the orca whales are going underneath the water and coming right up out of the ice? I really loved this picture. It does a great job. A great migration. Thousands of caribou or reindeer spend the winter in the forest at the edge of the tundra. In summer, they migrate to the tundra to feed on plants. As they migrate, the female caribou gives birth to their calves. By the end of its first day, a caribou calf can run faster than a human. Wow, that's a pretty cool fact. Look at this picture. Look at all of them. That's amazing. Winter returns. Spring, summer, and autumn are short in the Arctic. Soon it grows much colder and heavy snow falls. The polar bear cubs are learning how to hunt seals. A hungry Arctic fox goes hunting. When it hears a lemming under the snow, it dives to catch its meal. Icy winds and blizzards blast the tundra. Winter has returned to the Arctic. An Arctic food web. So all week we've learned about food chains, but today we have an Arctic food web. The food web shows who eats who in a habitat. This food web shows the connections between some of the living things in the Arctic. And once again, this book does a great job with its glossary in the back. We are now going to go back to our PowerPoint. And we're going to look at one last picture of the Arctic tundra. So now you're going to click on Mrs. Faulkner's video, and she's going to have a super cool activity for you. I hope you enjoyed all of the great ecosystem books this week. See you next week.